thank you very much.
Chris, cheers.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Miss Vicky Sullivan, cheers.
You can call me Vicky.
Oh, okay, I'll try.
I remember how weird that is when I started being friends with my teachers. It's like, Jane?
Yeah, but it's cool now that like you guys are people, not just teachers.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, totally.
Alrighty. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Life, a podcast by Mayorca Media. I'm your host, Felix Mayorca. We're sitting here at the Local Hub Studios in Escondido, California. Big shout out to our biggest sponsor, Local Hub. Come in now for your day pass, free day pass, if you want to check it out. If you're a remote worker or if you're starting a venture of some sort, this is a place for you. Shout out to our other sponsors, Picnicked and Express Yourself. Today's going to be a really fun episode. I am sitting with Chris, and formerly known as Miss Sullivan, but now known as Vicky. Say what's up.
What's up?
How's it going? Sorry.
Happy to be here.
It's all good.
So good to see Felix.
So,
Boy of the year.
Co-boy, remember me?
Co-boy.
You shout out to Austin early.
Yep, Austin. Co.
Dude, come through, man. Come to the podcast. What, you know?
Yeah.
Come on, Austin. Anyway, so Chris, I met you today.
Yeah, first time.
But I've known about you since I was in 6th grade. Miss Sullivan, Vicky, tell the people at home how I know you.
I was Felix's PE teacher in grade 6, and then of course was able to keep in touch with him for 3 more years because he went to 7th and 8th grade there too. So got to know Felix pretty well. He was a standout and good guy. We share a love of Tim Freeland.
Yeah.
Love Mr. Freeland.
Yeah. Oh my God, I should have him on. What the hell am I doing?
Freeland is like the best ever.
Yeah, a little closer to the mic.
Freeland is the best ever.
Yeah. Have you spoken to him at all?
A little bit, sometimes through Messenger, Facebook, but not a whole lot, no.
Okay. And you're retired now,
I
right?
retired and I kind of just dropped out and I hang out in San Diego. I rarely get back up to Escondido.
Yeah, no one does.
Oh, I love Escondido. I'm like a 4th generation.
Oh, really?
1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm 4th generation.
Okay. You went to school here?
Yeah.
Both of you
Conway.
went? No?
Hold on, man.
Okay. All right. I want to bring him in. He's just sitting there.
That's all good. It's all good.
Conway, Grant, which is Mission, Escondido High. And my grandparents did the same. Grandma and Grandpa graduated from Escondido High on one side, Grandma from the other side. Yeah, Escondido.
Wow.
Parents, Escondido High.
There's a picture of Vicky's grandma at Bates Nut Farm, the Escondido class of whatever year she graduated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's been around for that long, huh?
Yeah.
No offense to your grandma.
Oh yeah, no, they're dead and ancient, but they were alive and well.
That's awesome. And Chris, where are you from?
I'm from San Diego, and I went to school in La Mesa at Helix High School. We graduated the same year, 1979.
And we were at the CIF game, Escondido High versus Helix, when we were 17 years old, but of course we didn't know that then.
At the San Diego Stadium in 1978 or 79. I can't remember.
79, I think.
79, senior year.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We didn't even, it was a cold night. I remember that. I was bundled up.
Were you playing or were you?
Oh, no, I was a
watching?
spectator. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were watching as well?
Yes.
Or a cheerleader or anything?
I was a cheerleader my junior year. So I think it was our senior year I didn't cheer that game.
Okay. Nice. So I think people are like, well, why are you, I always like talking to my former teachers because as I told you before this, when we're kids, it's like, oh, there are teachers, just like mom. Her name's Mom, and if she doesn't answer the phone, I'm like, what is my mom doing rather than being my mom, But now that I'm older, we're just talking some politics stuff and talking before this, but we're pretty much both. I mean, I'm an adult, you're an adult, everyone's an adult.
We're adulting together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that dynamic kind of changes. And something that I always remember, and this is kind of one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you guys in here, was I've had couples on before. I had Frankie and Annalie who, go listen to those episodes. They have been married for about a year now. I had Chris and Kaylee who have been together since forever, and they own their own business, Iconic Fitness. And now I have you two on.
The old guys, the old folks.
So I remember you telling us when we were in 6th grade that Chris, you proposed a month in. And I remember even then, as a 6th grader, I was like, That is crazy. But,
Totally.
but you've been together how long?
36 years.
36
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
July 13th, 1984 is when we met.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So speak a little bit on that. Where did you meet? What did you think? What did your? I have so many questions. So let's start off. With where did you meet?
Okay.
You go.
We start?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
Really
butt
is.
in as appropriate.
Okay, perfect.
It really is fun. I was 22, and my mom and dad had called and said, we're going to the beach. Do you want to go with us? My brother is going with his girlfriend. My sister is going with her boyfriend. And I'm just like, I don't want to be like, I wanted a boyfriend. I didn't have a boyfriend. I'm like, I don't want to be around mom and dad, my brother, and all these couples. So I'm like, no, I'm staying home. So I was living near San Diego State.
Okay.
And living in apartments there. I was finishing up school that year. So it's my senior year as a college student at State. And so I lived in college apartments, and on July 13th, 1984, next door I could hear like some partying going on, and one of the gals next door, who's a good friend of mine, called me and said, hey, Vicky, there's like an extra guy. So it was two women and their two boyfriends, and they brought this extra guy. And they're like, can you just come down? I mean, just come hang with us. I feel like he's just standing there doing nothing.
I was the fifth wheel for sure. Yeah.
And so I'm like, ugh, I'm not in the mood, but I'm like, let me stand on the balcony. I'll look over and see what I think. So I went out on my balcony, and I kind of looked over, and I saw him, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go down there. So I went down, and there were now three couples, and we were all 22, and there was music. And you want to go over from here?
There was music. We were all into rock and roll. So my friend Mike was going out with the lady that lived next door to Vicky at the time, and we were all into music and going to concerts and shows. We were all big punk rockers. All this,
Total punk rockers.
Nice.
I was not a punk rocker.
Okay.
And so we were playing music, and I think there might have been, some beers on the table or something like that. And Vicky came over, and we started talking, and the music got louder, and the dancing started. And man, the next thing you know, I was doing the worm on the floor, doing a whole courtship ritual dance, man.
Totally. And this guy, now that I knew him soon after that, he doesn't
I'm
dance.
the least funky human on the planet.
Wow.
He's totally not a dancer, not funky. No, and he is doing the worm to B-52s, and I'm just like, dude, Rock Lobster. This guy is wild. And
Rock Lobster.
Rock Lobster.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a classic.
Oh, yeah.
And
For
he
sure.
made me run down all the music I was into, which was not at all the music he was into. And I'm
Carly
so,
Simon,
Shut up, please.
Joni Mitchell.
Stop.
Okay. So like love music and slow.
Really wonderful
70s,
stuff, actually. Yeah.
70s classic kind of folky stuff. And he was into
Oh, X and the Cramps and all kinds
Lou
of wild
Reed.
stuff. Lou Reed, I love still. Yeah.
And
even
so
know-
I
I don't know who those
disappointed
are.
him greatly, I'm sure, because
Really?
my music was not up to par with he and his cool punk guys.
That's not true. You're plenty cool.
Not musically. So do you want to? It gets wilder. It goes on.
That's why we're here. We got
Okay.
time. We got time.
All right. So now we're six of us, and there was some partying going on, some dancing, some loud music. Someone gets a great idea that we're going to go break into a pool at another complex that isn't our complex. So we're just going to go
Nice.
swimming. Oh no, it's Jane Keithley's parents. So Jane Keithley, his parents were gone, so he had a pool. That was another time we did that.
Yeah.
So
Dang. Truth comes out, huh?
yeah. So we went over to a friend's house, and there was a pool, and next thing you know, we're all swimming and diving.
Having a diving contest.
And I'm an ex-gymnast, so of course I'm doing like millions of flips.
fancy stuff. Oh, yeah.
Courtship part two.
Courtship.
Exactly.
There you go.
Exactly. Yeah.
He's got the worm, I got the flips. And it was a great night, just a magical night. We hit it off amazingly.
Yeah.
And that night I came home and I had a journal and I wrote, I'm going to marry this guy. I knew that night. And he spent the night last night on the couch.
Downstairs on the couch.
Downstairs on the
Yes.
couch. And I guess at that point, he never left.
He just stayed on the couch.
Just stayed on the couch. Yeah. Hey, baby, I'm here, so.
Basically moved in that night. And we've been together ever since.
the next morning, though, it was even better. We woke up and Vicky took me to this place called the College Restaurant.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
At Montezuma and El Cajon. I think it's not there anymore, of course, but I had my first cup of coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you don't drink coffee?
And how old were you guys?
22.
22. I actually started drinking coffee when I was 22.
Yeah, right.
What's up with that? Coffee is like essential.
I mean,
Yeah, I thought it was just a college student thing where you just had to like keep that energy up all the time. So,
yeah, I mean, that's why I started drinking it. I heard it helped. But so both of you were in college?
I was not.
You were not.
I worked at a place called Convair down on Pacific Highway in San Diego, and I was a shapes and services mechanic, which means that I assembled airplanes and then rockets and stuff like that.
That's cool.
It was.
He made good money for a young guy.
Yeah, it was a great job.
Dang.
Fun job, yeah.
And I was finishing up college that year, and at some point, we should also mention that he moved in the next day.
Actually, yeah, it was just about a week later. I went back to my place where I was staying, and my roommate said, "Just don't move out," because I had rent or whatever. We had rent due, and I was just like, "Yeah, no, come on, don't trip, man. I'm good. I'm good." And then like the next day, I left a note on his pillow.
Sorry, bro.
I'm out now.
That's so funny.
Oh, yeah. And I actually had a roommate moving in, and she'd already signed a contract and everything. I had to flake on her, too. Felt horrible.
Yeah.
I still remember her name, Helen.
Shout out to Helen.
Sorry, Helen. Disrupted her life. So
hopefully she figured it out.
About 3 weeks after that, he had moved in, and then he walked home one day, or came home and had a little black, like you see the velvet jewelry box, and opened it up, and it was a little engagement ring. So we were engaged just a few weeks after that. And
pulled it out of my pocket with a bunch of metal shavings coming out and blew it off. Got the thing out,
Yeah.
What were your thoughts when he did that?
Right on. We're doing it. Let's do it. And
holy crap.
Yeah, and that was it. And we got married 7 months later.
7 months later.
And we've been together for 36 years.
Wow.
And we waited 8 years to have kids. We got to play a lot. That was fun. We traveled Europe and backpacked around. And but anyway, before all that, after he moved in, that was during the summertime, right? July 13th. We decided, I said something, he said, I'm kind of interested in going to college. And I'm like, I think you should. So
back when you could just go to SDSU and say, oh, here's my fee.
Wow.
Take a test, take the math test and the English test and
place yourself. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then he went through and did the 4 years and then the 2 years for the master. And then after that got his doctorate. So he just kept going.
Holy crap.
Yeah. He went from being a machinist to Dr. Sullivan.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes,
that's crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, in a good way.
Yeah.
Vicky inspired me to go to school. I mean, I always liked to read and kind of write and all that kind of stuff, but she really kind of put that focus on me, like you can do something with this,
right?
Rather than just have a good time reading on your own or reading that novel or whatever.
Dude, I read your poetry books. He had like books of poetry. He's like a machinist working at Convair, but writing this great poetry. Yeah, very
That's
artistic.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What'd you get your doctorate in?
In curriculum, educational leadership. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so both of you are educators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I teach English at Mesa College in San Diego.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I'm getting two. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shoot, what was I going to ask? I have so many questions. Like this is.
Yeah. So
what did your parents think?
Good question.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Really good question.
There's some stories there too.
So I was always like really picky about guys, and my girlfriends would say, Vicky, you're never going to meet this guy that you're waiting for.
Right.
Not like 22 is very old, but when you're 22 somehow.
I felt like I was really old at 22. That I didn't have.
Same. My back hurts so bad right now.
And I was just tired of not really having a boyfriend because I was picky. I would go on like 1 or 2 dates and I'd just be like, no, he got me flowers. Oh, I hated that. Oh, he wore the wrong shoes. I mean, just anything bugged me because I knew what I wanted.
Right.
So I would date guys just to kind of stay with them because my girlfriends were like, dude, Vicky, you have to just give him a try. But I knew, and every guy was just like, So my parents were, of course, freaked out. Mm-hmm. And they're just like, what on earth? Like, what? You're the girl that doesn't even like all these guys. And then my girlfriend's oldest daughter,
Right.
very responsible, always did the right thing. All of a sudden getting married like in a month. And then my girlfriends were even more horrified. They had to gather and cluck around me, and they're like, he has tattoos. He has tattoos. And,
oh no! Criminal, drug addict.
Yep. And he was a punk rocker, and he took me to mosh pits and made me like mosh and stuff. And that was just not me. And he wore like high boots and like
the Doc Martens or
like those, but kind of more like mod, like Lou
military.
Reed.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Beetle boots.
Okay.
Kind of. So anyway, my girlfriends gave me a hard time until they met him. Once everybody meets Chris, they're like, oh, great. But
Nice.
everybody was very surprised. And your mom?
My mom was a pretty tough sell, I think. I think. Well, I don't know.
I was mostly embarrassed I met her and I'm like, I know we've only known each other a month. Don't think I'm like a weirdo. I'm really a normal woman.
Yeah.
And I'm a good gal. And but we're gonna get married. I remember her just kind of going, okay.
Yeah. Well, and then are you a mama's boy?
Yeah, I was just. Yeah, it was a complicated family upbringing, so probably so.
So a little closer to your mom. And Mama Bear is always like, who's this woman?
Yeah.
Who's this woman taking my son away?
But I remember going to Vicky's house, her parents' house, for the first time. And out in Hidden Meadows, really beautiful area out there. And her dad was cooking salmon outdoors, and we were all sitting outside. And Brandon and Andy were there, and all the family was there. And Vicky's dad was drinking a glass of wine, and he was talking to me. I think he was giving me like the dad kind of trip, like lecturing me. And he's leaning back in his chair, and he kept leaning back, and he fell backward in his chair, and he kept talking.
Just normal?
Yeah, just normal.
So he couldn't laugh or anything.
So I was like, okay, is he like pranking me right now? Am I supposed to help him? Am I supposed to laugh at him? What's going on? But he just got up, put his chair back up, and everybody around was like, yeah, that's how it is.
He just fell over backwards.
Oh.
Slow motion, just like, because he was talking the whole time. It wasn't like.
So was it like a test, or he was just drunk?
To this day, I don't know. I don't think he was drunk. I think it was just.
It always freaks me out when you think about that.
Yeah, it was
You'll never stop thinking about it.
But at that moment, I knew that I had found my real family.
Okay, because they were kind of kooky and weird.
Yeah.
We both have kooky, weird families.
That's what makes it fun. Yeah.
Yeah, fun and not always a fun way. We were pretty serious about making a stable, happy lives for ourselves. We both come from families, marriages that were really troubled emotionally and psychically and
economically.
Violently and economically. Yeah. So we were both, you would never guess it from a couple that's going to get married a month after they meet, but we were pretty good and strong about how we wanted to have our marriage.
Trying to correct our path after our upbringing,
So did that ever cause any tension or friction? Because I know sometimes I try to maybe overcorrect, and I'm like, well, I'm seeing this repeating that I've seen, I don't know, with my mom or dad, or which they have a great marriage. My mom always watches, so.
Right.
But sometimes it's a little invasive, and I'm just like, I don't want to repeat that pattern. And then I get in my own head, and I'm like, don't repeat the pattern. And then I overcompensate, and I'm just like a crazy person sometimes. Ladies, I'm not crazy, but
no, very cool.
Did you ever find that happening where maybe you were stepping on each other's toes, or maybe overcompensating because you weren't trying to?
No.
Vicky's really good at checking me, because I turned into kind of like a hovering parent, and Vicky was much better at like letting the kids sort of fall and so I found myself being much more of the.
Oh yeah, he's total mom. I'm dad.
Yeah. Worried, fretting over stuff, following them around. Yeah.
Okay.
But as far as the marriages, no, we are nothing like our families, our mom and dad's marriage, and you're nothing like your parents' marriage. Nothing. We never even had to think about that. Completely different.
Wow.
We forged our own way.
Yeah, we were talking on the way up here about how we did co-equal stuff, or chores were chores, and it wasn't like, okay, this is your chore because you're a woman, and this is your chore because you're a guy or whatever. But yeah, that worked out pretty well.
Totally.
I actually know people in my generation that still think like that.
Oh no.
I'm like, bro, what are you talking about like,
Yeah.
if she cooks, I'll clean up. That's fine. Or maybe I'll cook one day and we'll both clean up together. Like it's not a big deal. And people, that's girl shit, bro. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you doing? I'm not going to name names, but you know who you are.
Wow.
Hopefully you listen, because more listeners
And
is better.
stop that.
Yeah, you better stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Picnicked. If you're looking for any fancy date night ideas or just to celebrate yourself, Picnicked has a ton of different packages for you, your friends, you and your dog, you and your boyfriend, you and your girlfriend, you and anyone, really. This is a great anniversary gift, even a what's it called? Christmas present, because Christmas is coming up. So if you book something in November, which is probably going to be over next week, and mention This Life, Picnic will give you 10% off of your picnic booking. Again, that's Picnic, and it's spelled PICNICKED _ hit them up on Instagram and you will be able to book your picnic today. Back to the show.
What was it like after you proposed? Were you, because obviously you propose and then you have to plan your wedding and
Oh no wedding.
We eloped.
Oh my
Okay.
God, we
There we
totally
go.
We
eloped.
forgot to mention that. That's
We also come from families that had zilch money, so we kind of like moved up that ladder economically. And so when we told our parents we're going to get married, I mean, neither one of them had a dime. None of them. I had two parents. He had one mom. And we're like, yeah, that's okay. We're just going to elope. So we totally eloped. And
yeah, we got a marriage license. We got the marriage license on the morning of. I went and got a suit at the thrift store. Vicky got her dress.
JCPenney's,
JCPenney.
$36.
We got the
Thrift store
bouquet
suit.
at Vaughn's.
Yep. My girlfriend's got me a bouquet at Vaughn's.
And then we had a couple of our friends as witnesses, and we
Like 6 people.
went downtown, got the license figured out, and then they found for us a minister over in City Heights on Cherokee Street near University, and we jammed over to her place, and she married us. Then we went over to, what
We
was
borrowed
that?
my mom's car. We drove to Santa Barbara.
Wait, where's the restaurant we went to?
Oh, Julio's.
Julio's.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
I picked that up. So get her, boys.
Yeah, Julio's for the albondigas. And,
We threw Albondigas meatballs.
Right, yeah,
We
we
were
had-
at the restaurant. We had a big Albondigas meatball fight in the
Yeah,
restaurant, and they weren't happy, but they weren't okay with it because it was our wedding.
And then about
What is happening?
It was great. Meatballs from the soup, just throwing them.
Vicky was a regular there, so they were like,
Yeah.
cool with
like-
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vicky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a little history at that restaurant because every time I went, I would end by putting my glass of water over my head, and so they're just used to me. Every time
Your antics.
Every time I would
The
leave with
Vicky's
wet head
antics.
because
Yeah,
the
yeah.
glass had to go over my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a thing.
All right.
Oh yeah, we got married, and then about a month later, we went to San
the
Francisco.
honeymoon.
Yeah, we went
Yeah.
to San Francisco.
Yeah.
We stopped in Santa Barbara on the way, and we had this thing. We stopped at a restaurant, and they had this pasta dish called something like
Honey,
tortellini, I think they're called.
Tortellini. We
Okay.
had tortellini for the first time,
And we were
we're
such
like,
squares. We were like, "This is amazing. What is this?" Yeah.
we were poor. I mean, my parents didn't go out to eat, and
Yeah,
the whole food thing hadn't happened yet. Coffee bars, brew pubs, none of that. And so tortellini just was like, we're like, oh my God, we're on our honeymoon in Santa Barbara, we're having we didn't know how to say it, tortellini.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And then we went to San Francisco in a stick shift car from Santa
Yeah.
Barbara, and that was terrifying, driving my mom's stick shift in San Francisco because, the hills.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
And
wild.
that was another big experience because
Yeah.
I'd never been to San Francisco, nor had you.
Yeah, I don't think I had either.
Our families struggled. We didn't get out much,
Wow.
but
Yeah.
so that we eloped. Oh, but here's the best part. The year after we got married, I was finished with school then, college, so I waitressed at Murray Callender's in San Diego and saved money. And he worked one more year at the General Dynamics Convair and saved money. And then we took that money and that we would have used for a wedding or something, and we traveled in Europe for 3 months backpacking around.
Wow.
which was cool.
How fun was that?
That was really fun.
So fun.
But before that, though, after we got back from our honeymoon
In San Francisco.
in San Francisco, our family did throw us a party
That's true.
Okay.
at Cobb Lane.
Brandon's grandma.
Okay.
We have a mutual friend.
Says say Ma.
Yeah, he was one of your
He was
professors.
my such a small world too.
Yeah.
He was my film professor, and then he was my English professor, I think.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Super
his
cool
wife
dude.
is my best friend and my cousin, actually.
Andy.
Andy.
I met her as well.
So they had a party for us at Brandon's mom's house in Valley Center.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So before you guys left to Northern California or like traveled through California, you had never left before?
Not me. I mean, family vacation stuff with
Northern
my cousins, but
California,
nothing-
camping
Yeah.
with grandma, grandpa. I had never been to Mexico yet. I had never been out of the state, never been on a plane. Only like with grandma, grandpa, maybe camping.
Okay. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So how was that? Did that test actually, let me kind of broaden it a little bit. Has your relationship ever been tested? Because it seems like you guys are very just easygoing, and
We've had our biggest disagreements came with the kids, raising the kids and
Yeah.
that's always tough.
philosophies, and
Yeah.
when certain personality issues would emerge, it'd be like, okay, you have one way to approach it, I have another way. We weren't always in agreement about that.
Yeah. We've actually had a really weirdly easy time. I think that's not normal.
Yeah, no, it's not.
No.
Yeah, I mean, we're so compatible.
Yeah.
And
Our birthdays are 3 days apart. We're born the same year, 3 days apart.
yeah,
Wow.
August 2nd, 1961, August 5.
yeah.
He's really easy to get along with.
It's going to sound really dumb, but I don't think I'm a very complicated person, and I think that every day that I open my eyes, I'm just like, right on. I get another crack at it, and then I get to look over, and Vicky's right next to me, and it's like, well,
Let's go.
You can't beat that.
Can't beat it. Oh, I love that. Honestly, I could kind of tell because when I grabbed the 2 beers, you were like, whoa, like, yeah, man, hell yeah. Like, so I got a little 6-pack of, and I'm not going to drink them tonight or whatever. I'll let you take one home though, if you want. For everyone at home, I got some Coronado Brewing, and this Modern Times Spaceways. And I was like, people like variety and stuff.
Sure.
You told me, yeah, beer for the man, water for me. And I was like, what kind of beer? And you're like, he likes all kinds. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I took them both out, and you were just like, oh, whoa. I was like, oh, thanks, man. Like, it made me feel good.
Good.
But I was like, yeah, hell yeah. The amount of like stoke you had for that small thing, I was like, and I think that's how honestly everyone should live their lives. And I've more or less tried to kind of adopt that, where I'm like, dude, I woke up today, hell yeah. Or like,
Yeah.
Little things you're like, oh, hell yeah. Like, this is tight. Even though, it's hard when the coffee falls and then the oatmeal falls. And the other day I was shaking up my, what's it called? My protein shake, and the top was open. I did not click it, and I went, and just everything went everywhere. And
That's fun.
I just threw the bottles, and then I got in the car and I was like, it's going to be okay, And,
I remember you being like that at school too. I mean, that's why you got Co-Boy of the Year.
oh, I was a perfectionist.
You were
through and through.
but you always had a great attitude.
Well,
You did.
But what's crazy is after middle school is when everything kind of started happening, where I started feeling depressed, a little bit suicidal, and I had no idea why. I thought it was just a teenager, and that's what you hear all the time. It's like,
Yes.
Right.
"Oh, you're just a crazy kid."
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to get into that again.
I've watched some of your what's the exact word? Is it not a podcast? Because that's, what do we call these? This is a
podcast.
Oh, it's a podcast.
Yeah.
But some podcasts you just listen to. Yours, you actually have a video too that goes with it.
Well, I do both. I do video,
Okay.
but you're talking about the first ones that I put
I've
on
listened to
my.
a couple that you've talked to about like mental health, and it's been really interesting.
Yeah.
'Cause I know that's what your generation has to deal with quite a bit.
So much with the generation. And Vicky and I talk about
I don't
this
know
all
what
the
it
time.
is.
I wonder. Yeah.
Because and we're figuring out now that your generation as well had it, but they just didn't talk about it. And you were kind of strong, and I'm like, why can't we do that? Right. And people blame social media, and people blame all this other stuff. Right. And I'm like, I'm not very involved in social media. Like, I've always had a question of like, why? Like, why are we like this?
Our generation says the same thing, because all of us, our parents, we are blessed with the best friends, like the best friends.
Right.
Like
That's a big part of success too. Is having that social network is really important.
That's what I always talk about.
Face-to-face stuff and people you can hang out with and go on vacation with, and then you have kids together and you raise your kids together and all that stuff.
And
So.
all of the kids that we've raised are wonderful, but they all struggle with a little bit much more mental malaise than we did.
Anxiety.
And we don't get it.
Yeah.
We don't get what the difference is either. Somebody's going to be writing lots of books about this, because there is something that happened between our generation and your generation. Our kids are the same age as you.
Right. Tala and
Rowan.
There's some elephants in the room, though. I mean, climate change. I mean, the world is radically different for you all, and bringing up.
Yeah. We also grew up with, and I read about this actually, with 9/11. We grew up in post 9/11 world. Like, we were kids and it was like running around, and I always hear about people like talking about the old days and how you could leave your bike in the front and people are like, oh, that's so-and-so's bike. That's where he's at.
Yeah.
But after 9/11, it was like, everyone was like on edge. And I remember feeling my parents' anxiety, even going to the mall. I remember that Halloween, because we used to go to the mall for Halloween and walk around the different stores, and they would have like candy and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, are we allowed to do that now? And my parents were like, maybe we'll skip it this year. I don't remember if we went, but I think we always in the back of our heads had that. I think that's a part of it, where we had the whole 9/11 and
absolutely.
That's an interesting
and,
concept. I hadn't thought about that. I'll have to talk to our kids about that too.
Yeah.
I do remember that was the first night we ever let them watch the news, because they were little. How old were you then? They were like 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think I was in kindergarten.
Yeah. So our kids never watched the news, because we thought when they were that little, because it was pretty distressing to watch the news.
No reason for a kid to watch the
they
news.
They were sensitive little kids. I mean, they were watching Winnie the Pooh,
Yeah.
But on that day, we had to watch TV. So that was the first time they got to watch the news, and what a horrible way to jump them into the news.
Yeah.
But we had to watch it, so we tried to just explain.
Yeah, that's one of the best things. Funny enough, my dad used to punish me by making me watch the news because it's so boring. And I just sit there and cry the whole time, and he'd be like, listen. But there
you go.
Yeah, that day, I remember just my brother and I were watching Buzz Lightyear in the morning, because they had a little show in the morning, and it cut off with like people jumping off the twin, and I was like, what is this, dude?
Yeah.
And then I came home. Actually, my first grade teacher, I was in first grade, Miss Polkover, and I found her on Facebook, and I told her this. She sat down with us as first graders and was like, everyone, like, we're going to take, a couple minutes, and we're going to talk about what happened today. This is what happened. And she like explained it to us. And I always remember that, because she spoke to us as people. Wow. Not like little kids.
Wow.
And I remember telling you that, I think her name's Tara Polkover. Big shout out. I don't know if she probably doesn't listen, but, yeah, I found her on Facebook. I was like, I found her on 9/11 actually. Wow. Because every single year I remember that.
Right.
And I found her, I was like, hi, did you teach at Glenview? And I told her, thank you so much for sitting down and talking to us, because as kids, that's what we need. Of
course.
And I know, obviously, it's hard to sit there and talk. Like when the shootings happened, I was a senior when Sandy Hook happened, and we all knew what happened. But then the later shootings, I was working for the city of Escondido, I think, and then the city of Poway, and kids were like, what happened? And I'd be like, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it. Yeah. And there's always that weird, like, you want to let them know, but you don't want to like traumatize them, but
keep a little distance, but at the same time be real with them. I mean,
exactly.
Wow.
And I think we just grew up with seeing all that crap, and now it's so readily available.
Yeah.
I'm on Instagram, and Instagram's telling me to vote, and I'm like, dude, I already did. And it's like, now figure out what's going on, and they're just throwing it in my face, and I can put up a little sticker that says I voted, and then they can click on there, where's the polls? And that's just an example of getting, excuse my language, getting shit shoved in your face
all the time.
Yeah. And the shooting, same thing. Yeah. Kids had their phones out.
Yeah.
And you're just watching people die, and you're like, oh my God, like, how are you supposed to feel? And I think that's a big part of why we feel this way.
I think so too. And I thought I heard you say you weren't sure if it was, the anxiety and stuff for your generation is because of that, but I really feel it has to be because of social media. That's a huge groundswell change. And did you see The Social Dilemma?
I did. I've been preaching people, you got to watch that movie, man.
It's interesting.
You have to watch that movie.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a big part of it.
yeah,
Social media.
I mean, right now I think I posted, I don't know if you saw this on my story, but I watched one Republican video of I was clickbaited. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. It was like some Republican going off on some girl. And I was like, all right, I watched it and I was like, okay, cool. Then I started getting Trump 2020, you will never believe what he said. And sleepy Joe Biden. And then I'm just like getting all these, and I'm like, yo, what is going on? Like I'm by no means like a radical Republican or radical liberal or whatever, but I'm just getting all these things targeted at me. And I'm like, oh my. So as soon as I watched that movie, I was like, this is it. So
Yep.
do you guys see, as educators, do you see that kind of shift of obviously every generation kind of changes? I've spoken with other teachers too, where I'm like, they're like, I'm retiring in 2 years because I can't do this anymore. These kids are a different breed. And I worked with kids for 5-6 years and I saw it then.
Yeah.
Did you, obviously we have two different sides of the spectrum, but let's start with middle school. How do you see that?
What I see is not just with the students I taught, but with our own kids who, are the same age as you. It's like concentration is so much less now with your generation. Reading a book. Tough.
It's tough.
And I'm embarrassed to say, even for me, like I used to read so much, and now since that flippin' Instagram, I'm on the Instagram when I would be reading, and it's hard for me to sit down and read for an extended period of time now. And I see it with the kids. So, and I started seeing that with the students before I retired. It's really hard to stay focused on their schoolwork and reading and things that cause, that they should be intellectually involved with. It's so much more difficult.
But maybe it's a different type of intellect at work, though, too. And I think that's what we're seeing as an evolution as well, that students are getting better at multitasking, at doing a number of things at once. So I see it a couple of different ways, though. I mean, do we see this as a tool or a utility, or is it something that divides us, or is it something that actually, something that will help us create a better future for ourselves?
Well, your students, you teach 20-some-year-olds. What do they say?
So I'm just thinking that when we're in class now, we're on the Zoom format. And so the students are working on something for the class. They're also sending me chat messages for the comments that I'm making orally to them. And then I can also see them using their social media or their phones and whatnot. So, yeah, they're just, it's utilitarian in a way, but I wonder to what extent we're going to get to the point where the distraction of it is seen as superfluous in favor of its utility.
Well, I mean, I get paid to make social media ads.
Right. So, I mean,
and I get paid to understand that we have 3 seconds of 3 seconds to hook someone in.
Attention time, and that's it. Yeah.
And I think a year ago it was 5 seconds.
Wow.
And it's going down.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the fact that that's, I have no idea. I almost don't want kids because I don't know what's going to happen.
Right. And I think that when we look at how, we used to use the television as a babysitter, and now we're to the point where we use these little, 2.5 or 3-inch screens as the babysitter,
antenna.
Right? The antenna, they put it on the end of the pram or the stroller and calm the kid down that way. So it's going to change us developmentally somehow, but I'm not sure what that'll look like.
I know a lot of your generation is talking about not having children, and I get it. It's a pretty stressful world right now, but kids are awfully fun. It's the best thing we ever did, actually.
Really? I mean, I want kids, but I'm at the point right now where I'm like,
Yeah. We've got a great little couple next to us. They're just a little bit older than you, and we love them like our own kids, and they are not going to have kids, and they're perfectly happy, and they will be. We would have been happy without kids too. Yeah. We have so much fun.
We had planned on actually not having kids.
Oh wow!
And then for 8 years, and then we were goofing off, like Vic said. We were traveling, camping, going places, doing things, and then
we thought, let's have some kids.
One day the kid shows up, right?
No, we planned the kids. We had it planned. He had to finish his. You finished your master's, and we got the kids
just right after.
Yeah. So we planned it.
Okay. I mean, no judgment here.
Dude.
We planned it.
We planned it.
Dude, don't make us look bad.
No, I totally think if kids happen, they happen. But we actually, because our parents didn't plan anything,
Right.
and their kids, every pregnancy they had just happened, we were very good about saying we want to wait till we have this much money and this much. Not that everybody has to do that. It's just from the backgrounds we came from.
Yeah.
We wanted to make sure that this was going to be a good thing for us.
Stable for the kids.
Stable.
Yeah.
So what were those 8 years like?
Fun. Oh my God.
What did you
so much
do?
fun.
What were you thinking?
We love our friends. We've got this extensive groups of friends. So I always go on girl trips with my girlfriends. She would go on guy trips with the
Camping
guys.
trips with the guys, mutual
Camping with all the couples. We're big campers. We played beach volleyball forever with each other, and
soccer,
co-ed soccer teams,
yeah.
and just so much camping and traveling in Europe, and we just had fun.
Yeah.
Just so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Just fun.
Do you recommend it for couples now to kind of have a hiatus from
I think
life
so. 'Cause
almost?
Once you
Yeah.
have kids and your house payment and all that, you're kind of stuck in the grooves. But before all that happens, you don't have the grooves. You're not in debt. You don't have the kids to take care of. You can play. It's the
Right.
best time to play.
I was teaching at a school in San Diego, and I got my full-time job at Mesa, and so the department chair took me out to lunch, and we were sitting there having lunch, looking out. I was at USD,
You
so
were
we
like
were looking
30.
33, something like
Yeah.
that. But so we had just bought a house. I had just got my full-time job, and this guy looks at me and goes, "All right, buddy, you're locked in."
Hell yeah.
Right? I think we had Rowan, and Tala might have been just a little over a year old maybe at that time. So, but he just gave me this sage look like,
Congrats.
yeah, you're locked in.
That's awesome.
That was his way of saying it. Yeah.
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 I want to talk about myself. I love talking about myself. Just kidding. But I'm at the point where I want to make something of myself. And
You're doing it. This is it.
I mean, I think I've made something of myself.
Yeah.
And I want to keep going, and I want to, I mean, obviously we talk about generational wealth, and I mean, I think my generation talks about that a lot. We kind of put things on hold for that, but I find myself doing that a lot. I find myself sometimes even with relationships, I'm like, you're going to have to wait because I'm working, and I've seen it go negative sometimes. But I'm also trying to save money. I'm in that spot where I'm like, this has to work. It's going to work. I have to keep working, keep your head down, keep working. What advice would you give people like me?
I would say if you like what you're doing, keep doing it and keep socking that money away as long as you're liking it. If you're hating it, then you have to switch it up, because I feel like there's too many people that waste mental health at jobs they don't particularly like.
Yeah.
Don't go against yourself.
Yeah. But then again, I also do think there's such a thing as a working class hero, where like you don't have to like have a passion and follow your dream. You are doing that, and that's awesome. Some people can't find that passion. We were talking about other people, and that's okay just to be a working class hero, man. How many dads? My dad went to work and came home every day, and
Someone's got to do it.
someone's got to do it. He
Someone's
didn't
gotta
like
do
his
it.
work, but if you're lucky enough to do what you like and love and make money at it, keep doing it, sock it away. And if you have to be a working class hero, do that too, and find your joy another way. Because I don't know if everybody can find their passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true. I sometimes miss going home and being like, oh, thank God I don't have to think about work. Because when I go home, I'm in it. Like, I'm like, all right, tomorrow I have to edit this, and this, and I'll look at my calendar, or I'll be like, I can't leave till I've had like 13, 14-hour days here, because I'm like, I have to finish this thing by, But then I'll have like weekends when I'm like, okay, I'm not going to book anything. But then the holidays come around, and that's when I'm like really grinding, and I'm like, okay, the weekends I have 3, family photo sessions.
Yeah.
So I'm always torn between the whole just go have fun. Why don't I get a travel loan out and I'll just, screw it.
Yeah.
It'll be better,
Yeah.
But then I'm that like responsible kid that's like, no, get straight A's, and
it's grounded in
balance.
us. It's a balance. Yeah. Because I think we're
balance.
trained to be that way.
Yeah.
To keep our head down and keep the nose at the grindstone. But, look up.
And now's a good time to play.
yeah,
I mean, really, once you do have that marriage, if you get married, or a house payment, or the kids, you're kind of locked in. I mean, it's still fun, especially
Yeah.
if you've got a partner that you really enjoy.
but it's a different kind of fun.
It's a different kind of fun. You're in it. And then there's 18 years of pretty hard work.
Well,
but still
there's a
fun.
labor element to it for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So I would recommend for people that don't have kids yet and are in your age category to really explore a little bit, have some fun, because you're going to be locked in at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe even home ownership isn't going to be a big deal for your generation. It's expensive here in California, and I don't even think it has to be. We loved living in apartments, man.
You guys live in an apartment right now?
We don't, but we did. And before we bought a house, we lived in apartments. It was great. Things would break down.
Call somebody.
Call
the
Carl.
guy. Yeah.
It was great. Home ownership, that's a lot too. Things are always breaking down. It's a pain in the butt. But I'm kind of a fan of enjoying those young years, your 20s. At the same time, trying to build a future, but pretty much enjoying your freedom. And for those people that don't have freedom in their 20s, you had kids early, hey, that works out too. My best friend had kids early, and we're both free now, but she had struggled a lot more. Andy and Brandon had kids very early.
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so we were still having fun, and they're like, we'd go over there New Year's Eve, and they'd be a baby. And I just remember thinking, oh, man. But it works out. So I don't know if there's any hard rules here. But
Yeah. True.
Express yourself. Are you looking for some stocking stuffers or something to just tell someone that you appreciate them just a little bit extra? Express Yourself is there for you. If you go to expressyourselfco.com, you'll see that they have all sorts of cool stuff. They have pins, they have balloons. They have really cool pins, actually. I've said this before, I'm not a big pin guy, but I've actually gotten some from the homie Tony, who, this is actually a shop, but I've gotten some from him, and they're pretty dope. They also have some cool dad hats. I see on here that there's only 2 left. They have a Cybertruck pin, Elote pin, Chingon pin. Go check them out, man. This is a perfect stocking stuffer. And if you use code THISLIFE, you get 10% off of your order. Again, that's expressyourselfco.com. Give them a follow on Instagram too. Back to the show.
I have a question, like how your generation does that whole swipe thing online for meeting people. I think that's so interesting because our kids do it too, or have done it in the past. What is that like?
So,
why don't you just meet people?
I was on
COVID.
Yeah,
Well, COVID, yeah.
Pre-COVID, PC. I was on Tinder and I was on eHarmony for 1 hour, and it was for a class. And I noticed that eHarmony, we had to drop a paper on online dating, but we had to get these. I might still be on Tinder. I don't even know. We had to get these accounts and see what the difference is. So eHarmony, I had to put in what I like to do on the weekends. If I like pina coladas, like pretty much everything that just kind of really spoke about me. Whereas Tinder was like, you have a Facebook? Cool, you're on. And it was like, boom, now here's your picture and talk a little bit about your, and it was just I was like, oh my, wow. So I started swiping and I was like, I feel like such a scumbag. I feel like such a scumbag. Yeah.
Just a consumer, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And it felt like Instagram. It felt like I was buying something. I felt weird personally on it. Yeah. But I've met people that have gotten married through Tinder. I've met people who have been together forever because of Tinder, or OkCupid or whatever.
Yeah.
The way I heard it described that it made sense was, I don't know if you know the comedian Aziz Ansari. You ever watch Parks and Rec?
Yeah.
Tom Haverford.
Yeah, Tom Haverford. There you go. A lot of people actually call me Tom Haverford because I used to work for the city. Now I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah. Entertainment 720.
Watch out for your partners, though.
John Ralphio. Man, I love that show. But he has a book, which I really recommend. One of the only books that I've read. One of the 2 books. It's called Modern Love. And he talks about that. He talks about how dating used to be and how dating is now. He described, I think he does this in a special too, but he describes online dating as being at a bar, looking at everyone and saying, okay, everyone who has a partner, leave. And they all leave. Everyone who hates spaghetti, leave. Everyone leaves. Everyone who loves to drink water, stay. And they all stay, and you pretty much just walk around and talk to everyone. So that's pretty much what it's like.
Yeah.
And in that way, because I was very against it for so long, and I was like, that's disgusting, and can't believe people are doing that, STDs. But it's really not like that. It's now it's normalized.
Yeah.
Do you know what your kids are, what apps they're on?
I know Tala met Julian on Tinder, and they had a 5-year relationship.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have or had?
Had. They did recently break up, but they had a great relationship.
Yeah.
And that was a swipe.
Yep.
So, and I know people our age, that some people are in a second relationship, and they're looking for someone, they're finding all sorts of people. So it's pretty impressive, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's cool. I've never been on it personally, but for me, dating has been, I've always dated someone I know. It's always been, through work, which I don't recommend, through school. It's always been a friend first, and then I'm kind of like, oh, you're kind of cute. But I have done the first dates where someone knows, or I talk to them or whatever, and then I used to do a thing where I give them my number. So ball's in your court.
Right.
I hope you're comfortable, and I got a couple like that.
Yeah.
But so many people are very superficial because of social media and all that. And that might just be my dating history. I don't know if that's everyone else, but
That's a good point, actually.
yeah, just you're not supposed to have your phone when you eat. And you have no idea how many people I've had where they're just like,
Really?
and they'll put it down there kind of like, I'm like, so do you like movies? Like
Something, right?
Now I'm just like, oh, you just want free food. Like,
It's easy to get cynical.
Yeah, exactly. That for a while I got very cynical.
Yeah.
And I even got out of a relationship that I just there was a lot of mistrust, and I started not trusting women, and it got very toxic where I was just kind of like, all right, well, you just want a free meal, so why would I even try? And it was bad. But I think I'm curious to know what dating's like now during COVID, because I've heard people starting to get back into it because things are opening up.
Yeah.
But that's
got to be fraught with tension. I
Yeah.
mean, it's COVID. It's a pandemic. What a horrible time to be a young person trying to find a date or two or a partner right now.
yeah. Well, it's going to be over by Easter.
Yeah.
Or summer.
That's
Or maybe next year.
We're rounding the corner.
We're rounding the turn.
That's right. Yeah. I just saw that one too. We're rounding. The turn is rounding. We're rounding the turn.
We're rounding the turn.
Dude, I don't care who you vote for. If you look up videos of Trump talking about COVID, it's like, you're like, come on, man. You're like that kid that showed up for the oral report and didn't study or didn't look anything up, and you're just kind of like, the rocks are pretty cool because they're, sand and stuff is made from rocks, and the rocks are made of sand. So, and it's just like, dude, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's my take on dating.
Okay, we think it's interesting, but you just never know when some magic's going to happen. Real life magic that's not going to be online. Although, of course, online could have some magic too.
Magic's everywhere.
Magic's everywhere. You
Yeah.
never know. Chemistry, it's it's all there.
Are you guys big believers in signs?
Totally.
Like Sagittarius and all? What are your
signs.
Signs.
I thought you said science.
No,
Well, the whole astrology thing is weird because we're both Leos.
Yeah.
3 days apart.
And
we're
you're
not, we're not supposed to be like.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be compatible.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I dated a Taurus. I'm a Sagittarius, and I dated a Taurus for.
Isn't that a good combo?
That's we bump heads.
Yeah, two stubborn folks.
Two stubborn folks.
Yeah.
The way I describe my sign is, I'm sorry that you were mad that you were wrong. So that sucks.
But you'll deal with it.
Yeah.
You'll learn
But,
how to
you know,
deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah, if you guys have ever watched Curb Your Enthusiasm with
Yeah.
Larry David, that's me. I'm like, no, you're wrong. You're like, no, but you're wrong. So you know what I mean? I'm a Sag. So
That's funny to hear you say that because that doesn't sound like you, but I guess it's somewhere in there.
yeah,
'Cause you're
it's very much in there.
especially even to do your job like this.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to imagine you being that kind of person.
Because I wasn't in this job for like when I have a client tell me, yo, this would look cool, I tell myself, no, it wouldn't. But then I go, you know what? I think our focus should go this way. I'm very good at like talking to people.
Redirecting.
Diplomatic.
Yeah.
Diplomatic. I'm very diplomatic.
You are diplomatic.
But in my head, I'm like,
No.
I'm right. You're
Right.
You know.
We're not going to do that. It isn't that way. Yeah.
I had a client, a real estate agent who was like, and he knows who he is. We laughed about this after, but he was like, bro, I'm thinking at the end of my video, I'll play guitar. And I was like, oh, and we're doing a video about like San Diego and like good investment opportunities, good restaurants, the traffic here and just what it's like to live in San Diego. And he's like, yeah, bro, I think I should play guitar. And then you'll get your drone and you'll like put, and I read the text and I was like, I'm going to let him sit on it for a little bit. I texted him in the morning. I was like, you know, that might take away. I was like, while that might be a good idea to show who you are, that might take away from, you know, living in San Diego and you might lose people. And he's
The
like,
brand. Yeah.
he told me after, he's like, yeah, I was a little tipsy. I was like, good, man, because that was a terrible idea. I was like, dude, that was awful.
That's funny.
But, man, this was fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I want to ask so much more, but I think
Thanks for having us.
we've gotten enough. Do you guys have anything else to add? Anything to sprinkle on this?
Oh man, just
Looking forward to 35 more.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, just enjoy this life. You got one that we know of. You never know, but enjoy it and try to find some love out there and read a book once in a while and have some fun.
Try. Or audiobooks. There's audiobooks now.
There's audiobooks, of course. Yeah.
I think the one takeaway I got from this is, and you guys just kind of touched on it very little, but your social circle is so important.
So important.
And I think and I made this, we took a break and I took a tinkle, but I was thinking about it. I was like, oh my God, we are so separated, so anxious with social media, and we're talking about all this social media stuff. Yeah. We don't have really that human connection.
There we go. Yeah.
I'll call someone, they'll be like, what's wrong?
Felix, that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's so much more online now, and you're right.
Yeah.
Our generation definitely we just got together.
Yeah. We have our together friends. We have our separate friends. We have just circles and circles of people.
Exactly. You go on your girl trips. You go on your guy trips. Yep. You guys hang out together.
Yeah.
I mean, I've talked about that on the podcast, and I'm like, your social circle is so important, and it's hard to say that and act on it now because we have this. I have group chats of people that I speak to every single day.
Yeah.
But we don't have that, like, you know, I can't. I brought this up to them. I reached out. I have this group of friends, 3 other girls, and this was before I started going to therapy and taking antidepressants. And I was just down in the dumps, and I messaged them and I was like, yo, it was on Snapchat, so it's not very formal. I was like, yo, I think I'm like severely depressed. And they were like, what's wrong? And I didn't respond because I was doing something. And then they started talking about fashion. And I was like,
cry for help here.
I'm just on the ledge, like I'm about to jump, and they're like, hey, what do you think about this dress? And I'm like, okay. And then I brought it up after, and they were like, we thought you were kidding. You're always like joking. And I was like, it's like, no, those are cry for help. And like, we laugh about it now, but, and that's an extreme like figure. And I love them to death.
Sure.
But I think that's a good example of, we have those friends that were like, I talk to them every single day.
Yeah.
But you don't have that connection with them every single day, or you don't have that big trip with them every single weekend.
That vibe, you feel that energy from their spirit.
Felix, you hit that on the head.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe all you youngsters can work on that one, because you need that human interaction.
Yeah. The vibe.
The vibe is huge. Yeah.
The vibe's big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and our friends, he's had the same guys he plays poker with and camps with, and since they were in college, since they're 20 some years old. And my girlfriend's like, I still have the same girls I went to Conway with.
Yeah.
Conway, Mission,
Wow.
Eskimo High, as well as many other circles.
Yeah,
but
that's amazing.
Long-term friends.
and you guys would go over to each other's houses and interact.
Dinners, cook dinners together.
You would interact.
Interact, absolutely.
4 or 5 couples at a time.
Sports.
Play music.
Play music,
Sports, cook
yeah.
together.
Yeah.
Together. Go camping together.
Yeah.
Weekends away. Concerts together.
Yeah,
So
tons.
many concerts. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
It's there. It's out
It's
there.
there.
Yeah.
I think we just got to look for it. We got to find it. We got to put in the effort.
That's
So,
right. Enjoy.
Chris, Vicky. Ooh. Miss Sullivan.
Vicky.
Vicky, Miss Sullivan, Vicky.
Felix, thank you so much for having us.
I
Yeah.
appreciate
I'm
studio.
so
that.
proud
Yeah,
of you.
Thank
Just
you.
grown up so nicely.
Thank you. I appreciate you both being on. And I hope the listeners got a lot from this because there's a lot of knowledge here. It might be spread around because we went on some tangents, but
Yeah.
those are the best conversations.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you give me a follow at Mayorca Media on Instagram. Subscribe, leave a review for this podcast. Follow me on YouTube or subscribe to my YouTube because I put up these videos. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add?
I feel pretty good about our first podcast.
I'm sure you'll be on many more now.
The phone's ringing.
I know. Alrighty, folks. This was another episode of This Life, a podcast by Mayorca Media. I'm your host, Felix Mayorca. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Wow.
How'd that feel?
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This equipment